Let's jump back to the first record in this collection. We're going to discuss a little bit of tagging and coding. Notice over here on the right side of the screen, this is what we call layouts. Layouts are web-based coding forms restoring the biblical data and metadata about a record, as well as tagging and coding structure used by the review team. They are highly customizable and completely secureable from user to user and group to group. Right now I'm logged in as a power user, so you'll see that I have access to a lot of different coding forms. This form is actually called coding, and it looks like it's concerned with the issue tags. We have one called first pass review. It looks like that's limited to a small amount of biblical information. If we are the first pass reviewer, my options would likely be locked down to this coding form, and I wouldn't see all of the others that are in this list. I would have a vision to the forms that included the decisions that I only needed to make. There's one here for assigning documents, another for privilege log, and a form called all fields. You'll see that this looks like all of the metadata fields for this record. Let's go back to coding. Now the coding is where we can place rules on the layouts to ensure that the quality and consistency of the review. For instance, I can make something read-only, as you can see the control number and the custodian field here. And even though I'm in edit mode, they cannot be edited. You can see this orange box designates that the field is required throughout relativity. So for this particular coding form, my responsiveness is a required decision. If I uncheck any value in that one and try to save it, you'll see that it says that this field is required. Also, we can set propagation rules. Let's say I tag something for privilege, and I want a designation to automatically propagate to other members of this record family or any duplicates in the system. I can also copy from previous. This allows me to copy the rules that I used in the previous document and then click Save and Next. This is quite useful when a batch of documents are assigned out to reviewers based on a conceptual similarity, where quite a few of the documents will be coded the same way. We could also set up advanced logic on these to enforce best practices and workflow rules. Maybe in a particular review, there is a rule that says at this stage, a record cannot be tagged as both privileged and responsive. So for example, when I click this, you'll see this says that the document says it cannot be marked as privileged and responsive. Or perhaps when they mark privilege, they have to designate a subset. We can even set up rules where if someone comes in and tags something as super hot, we want to force them to leave a comment. Or if we tag something as en fuego, it would shoot off an email to the lead partner that would say something like, this document has been tagged as en fuego. Here's a hyperlink. You may want to take a look. Some review platforms let you tag documents as reviewed, but we can set up smart criteria to manage that process. So maybe if responsive, confidentiality, and privilege have all been addressed, we're going to go ahead and automatically have this document flagged as being reviewed and shot off for second-tiered review. So what we're really trying to do is give you tools to sit down with the case team, come up with best practices workflow for review, and then solidify and automate these features. This way, everyone has decisions, documents, and information they need in a very fluid and automated way without a ton of extraneous noise and matters that don't concern them. Are there any questions about layouts? All right, I'm going to go to the core of the reviewer interface by talking about our related items pane. This is where we can put in referential groupings about a document. Right now, I'm showing the family grouping for this record. So I have the original email here with the attachments to the email. I can see the Excel document, the PowerPoint, the Word document that had Korean in it, and then the document that had those track changes. Maybe I don't have those propagation rules for family groups turned on. However, I know all of these documents are responsive, and I can do a mass action. So I can mass mark these as responsive and just click Save. Here I have duplicate information. This is a table that is fully customizable. I'm showing the control number, and the location. But instead of location, maybe we could change it to its privilege designation because we want to do a quick QC of how duplicates of privileged documents are being coded in the system. We can also view the similar document information, and that's whether we're using similar document detection that's built into Relativity or powered by our analytics engine, or if we've processed the data through a tool prior to bringing it into Relativity. Relativity keeps a full audit history of every user action in the system, identifying whether records were reviewed, updated, who did it, how they did it, was it one of the propagation rules we talked about, or did they directly edit the record? I can click on the details and take a look. I can export this to Excel. It's a full audit history of this record. Or I can actually filter down. Maybe I only want to see all of the updates that have happened. As a side note, we can audit all things that we audit can be reported on. So whether you want to see how far we are in the review based on responsive designations or productivity reports to understand how many documents per hour or edits per hour our reviewers are making, all of that can be run inside of Relativity. Finally, circling back, we have a full production history. So I can see all of the productions that AS01 was associated with, the dates that they were produced, and then the beginning and ending Bates numbers. I can also kick this off to Excel if I wanted to. Maybe I want to look and see how the production actually looked during the Acme production. I can go up here to the Acme Production Radio button, and here I will see that it was marked as confidential, and I can see some redactions. Perhaps I'm curious what the record looked like in the Chicago production that was almost a year later in June of 2009. I can simply select the drop-down, Chicago, and take a quick look. If you can see, this looks a little bit different. We have redactions that look different, and we also have that it wasn't confidential during this time. So that's a quick and easy way to view all the various productions and see what differences between them without having to look through different databases or having a convoluted workflow. Is there any questions on the native file viewer?